So we've talked a lot about kind of the foundations of construction technology and where technology is, but tell me a little bit more about Berger Consulting Group and how you've established not only just a niche, but really provided excellent service and distinguished yourselves from the other groups that have come along.
Sure, sure. Good question. It's funny, I would say to begin with, the knowledge of construction was all important. No contractor wants to talk to somebody who knows about manufacturing, retail, healthcare, right? So my knowledge of construction helped tremendously in the early days. Could speak their language, knew their problems, could help with adoption. After that, what became apparent was we never became a dealer, a VAR, a rep for any software product. So we were always independent. And for most of the construction firms that we've worked with, that was very important. They wanted the objectivity, the independence. And so even though we've been offered many times to be a rep of a software product, getting referral fees, we've really avoided that just because the clients like the objectivity. I would say that those two. Then the third area that allows us to distinguish, I would say, is a process orientation, and this has come of late, but contractors want a process orientation, so procure to pay, or budget to contract on the job cost side, or complete suite of project management. These process streams is where we focus now. To summarize, I would say the independence, the and objectivity, definitely the construction focus, and then to some extent focus on process has helped us distinguish us quite a bit.
So part of coming in isn't you're just coming in with shiny tech tools.
No,
You've learned over time that there's a process that's involved in this, and then how do you apply technology to it, which is really helped you stand out. And I'm interested in just not taking that money because it's enticing for a lot of folks that are out there to take the money
yeah,
and be a part of it. You almost have to decide, like from the beginning, are we
yeah,
that?
yeah.
And if you are that, that's okay.
Yes, it's so back when I was with FMI, so quite a long time ago, I learned a term called trusted advisor. And trusted advisor is a term that's heavily used in the consulting realm, and it indicates somebody that people trust to be objective, truthful, etc., and not have any other initiatives. And I would say that we strive. I don't know if you ever totally get there, but and I would say I get phone calls all the time from old clients. Just had one the other day from somebody I helped 10 or 12 years ago. And they're like, we've got a problem. We need your help. And so having trusted advisor status is something that I would say probably is a highlight of the journey.
And it's where the benefits for the organization come, right? That's
Yeah.
where Berger Consulting it gets to its core of
Yeah.
who it is and how you're valuing your customers' experience, which is a unique standout in especially in our construction technology because this has to be a love for construction for you,
Yeah.
or not a lot of the companies stick around if you don't love this group.
No, that's absolutely right. I mean, there's plenty to be frustrated about, but I don't, I mean, I like challenges. I like big problems, and this industry has plenty.
Plenty of challenges, plenty of big problems, plenty of room for that, right? If it was easy, anybody'd be doing it.
Absolutely.
They wouldn't need us to sit here
No,
and have a
no.
25-year conversation about this. So, with that, what are you looking at the challenges ahead? What are you most excited? Because you're excited for big problems, right?
Yeah.
So our industry and others, this is where construction gets a bad name. It's not like other industries don't have big
Yeah,
problems,
yeah, I
right?
think that's right.
Maybe we don't address them as much because we're not as close to it. But what are the big challenges and what are you most excited about in the future?
Yep, thank you. I would say that it's going to, there are a lot of people that have placed a large bet on this industry moving ahead at warp speed. Don't you agree?
I believe so.
There's a lot of money that's come in, startup, acquisition, et cetera. So there's a lot of people backing a lot of tech that this industry is going to adopt. If that doesn't happen, they're going to take their what's left of their funds and go to another place. And so that could be detrimental. In the meantime, this industry has a wealth of technology at its doorstep, and whether or not it chooses to pick it up, open the door and pick it up, to be determined. Um, I think that the current emphasis on data is an amazing situation. Like, I thought that story would have taken 5 to 10 more years to get people interested and excited, and they are already. What they don't recognize, and I think you well know, is that all of these tools that do data integration, data mining, analytics, dashboards, they will look good on top of bad data. And so and contractors have historically not had good data. I mean, they've had too many different systems, spreadsheets, they've got data everywhere. And so the idea that these very powerful tools can sit on top of their current data and try and tell a good and coherent story is problematic. And so so in the quest for better data and analytics, you're going to find contractors trying to do a better job of integration, workflow, validation, all the things necessary to have something close to pristine data. So I think the data and analytics path is one that has me pretty excited. The integration technology is moving very fast in terms of being adopted. I like all of the point solutions that are coming into the industry. Not sure which ones are going to necessarily stay. So I think that's promising. The other thing I like a lot is that contractors are hiring business analysts and directors of innovation, because that's a sign that they're getting it and they're investing in some level of personnel beyond just another help desk engineer.
Another person to do the blocking and tackling. I'm going to take you back just to think about this for a second, and we can check these numbers later. But CMEX Ventures says in 2021, we had $5.23 billion in investment in construction technology. In 2022, where we're starting to show a downturn, it was 5.22 billion. So we're really not dropping off. But you hit on this. That is an exorbitant amount of money. The cost of money is going up. So I think we're seeing, and I think you might be sitting at the precipice of understanding the pressure that's about to come. And so you talked about this a second ago, but what does the pressure look like for those companies that have been invested and now the cost of that money is going up?
Yeah, my understanding is, and I'm not an expert in the field, but my understanding is that all of the private equity capital that was invested in tech elsewhere is starting to get pulled back. In construction, it's not getting pulled back as aggressively, because I think there is a feeling that this industry is still nascent and early in their overall adoption, and that the opportunity with an industry that represents 11% of GDP is pretty big. So the capital is still there, although maybe they're making fewer plays. You're going to see fewer startups, and perhaps those came at a higher cost to the people with the ideas. But it's a finicky crowd, and frankly, all they care about are the results.
Well, and that I led you there because you hit the word I hadn't heard yet. You said adoption. So I think that it's very misleading when people start to talk about data and the things you can lay on top of it when they don't focus on adoption. Because see, if you have groups of people, like we talked about those hotspots earlier, if you have those hotspots, but that's the only place you're getting data from, and the rest of it is in their Excel spreadsheets or, in their little filing cabinets, forbid it's on paper somewhere, then you're only getting their portion of the story. And if you layer these tools now that can, help you push forward and quote unquote predict where you're going to go, but it's not based on the entire set of data, you could go down a rabbit hole that's not right.
I like the car analogy quite a bit, and Tesla even probably would be a good, you get so much data, not just about speed and gas and, well, no gas, but speed and electronic storage and other elements of the engine and the operation, but then you're also getting a whole safety component. Are there people behind you? Are there cars in front of you? Is the car in front of you slowing down? So you have wildly more data available in a car than we used to 10, 15 years ago. In construction, you're moving ahead. Construction firms are moving ahead at just incredible pace, taking on high risk jobs. And they should be getting a dashboard full of data to show them jobs that are in trouble, project managers that are in trouble, jobs that don't have enough material, jobs that don't have enough labor, subcontractors that are on job sites with no insurance. They should be getting constant stream of data, and they're not. And so I would say that I'm excited about the opportunity to be a part of making that happen.
And I think it's going to happen, but it's going to take that blocking and tackling. It's going to take some of the things that, you guys at Burger Consulting Group have excelled at, which is that independence, getting people to find products, process map, and then implement them to get
Yep.
a great look of data. So let's say we've gotten there, right? And so now we're there. What are some of the opportunities for those companies? What do you see as the greatest part? I got that dashboard in front of me. Why are you excited to see your clients have that experience?
Well, I think it helps them be aware of how much opportunity perhaps they had missed, how much opportunity they have going forward, a way to distinguish themselves from their competition. I mean, we're still a highly competitive industry, and I mean, it isn't good enough to have a collaborative PM solution anymore. Like that's table stakes. In fact, a lot of technology is being written into owner contracts now so that they ensure you're doing various things. So as these contractors attempt to get competitive advantage in a very noisy marketplace, I think the tech environment is going to help them. And it will also, I think, help them attract young talent. And I like that because I love the idea, as I know you do, of young people finding this industry and being excited about working here. I think we've had a bit of a PR problem in the past. Construction was not sexy. It was not leading edge. It was unsafe, still is a little bit. But I think that it was hard to attract some of the younger people into this space. And now, with all that's happening with BIM and VR and AR and other drones and other technology, I think people are starting to look again. And that's so getting young people into this industry excites me.
I think getting them in here excites me as well. And I think it exposed, though, one of the problems that I worried about and was a part of in the beginning is looking at that AR and VR, and drones, and all of those things. But if we do that and we attract them, and then the first time we put them in a trailer, we hand them a clipboard or, hey, listen, we've really gotten rid of the clipboards, but we just open that Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah.
We try to orient them around these are the cells you can touch and these are the cells you can't touch. That's pushing them out of the industry. So I like your idea of table stakes
Yeah.
on the progress and the problems that have to have been solved, the things that need to be in place to entice them to then get and reach the potential. I think you're talking about, where we can go as an industry, and how we can recruit new people to take us there. Right. And so that goes back to having all of those foundational things in place, all of those process mapped, all of those things done in order to run, right? You gotta go slow to go fast, right? Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And
That's
that's the
good.
truth.
I like that. I think that the other thing I would add is that what I'm looking forward to would be seeing contractors being like really talented people inside companies focusing on doing better things, better jobs. I go into so many companies and sometimes I'm interviewing an individual. I'm like, this is more of a conversation in my head, but how are you excited about doing this job every day? Because this looks mundane.
Mm.
And I know that they're more talented, they're more capable, and yet here they are being a spreadsheet jockey. And I know this industry has more challenging problems than getting that data entered in that spreadsheet. So I think that helping a contractor develop high value work for their people is pretty rewarding.
Yeah, I mean, this goes at the business level and at the project level. If you're working in the business or in the project, then you're actually failing. If you're working on the business and
Yeah.
on the
Yep.
project, now you have a chance to, de-risk a situation, catch something before it happens, be predictive about where we're going. So, couple of other quick questions. We're starting to see the acquisition world happen, right? And we're starting to see the consolidation, but a lot of people in the industry see this as a negative. I'm interested to get your take. I know I have my own on this one, but I'm interested to get your take on it, especially given the years you've been in the business.
Yeah, I would tell you that so there have been software companies that needed to be acquired because they weren't well run. They didn't have resources necessary. So that's not been all bad. However, in the main, I would say I haven't been impressed. I think that there's been a lot of acquisition. Now these large companies have a portfolio, to use the right term, of software products that were written in different eras on different platforms with different data sets, and now this idea that they're somehow going to make them work together, it's a bit of a pipe dream, and it's not proving out very well. And some products that actually were pretty good have been mothballed. So I think that there's some of that going on as well. So in general, I would say, and then the lean away from services has been problematic in my view as well. So, but as they say, it is what it is. That's what we're living with right now. We, just to look ahead for a moment, I would say we have the opportunity to build a software company, and we certainly have learned a lot by looking at what's been done, and we have a very defined idea about how we want to do that, and kind of get back to the old school way of doing things, supporting customers, training, consulting, strong touch, if you will, and not just blasting a bunch of software out there in the marketplace. So one of our goals, if you will, for the next 25.
I was gonna say, yeah, what is on tap? Where, Bert, you've had a good run.
Yep.
It's not over.
No.
This is just another. It's an opportunity for us to kind of maybe take a breath. What's the next 25?
Well, so the next 25 only involves me for 5. So I would say that I have a great team, and you haven't met all of them, but I have a great team in Chicago, well, Chicago and elsewhere, and very committed, love the industry, love helping contractors. So I'm extremely proud of, like, that's one of the achievements I would look to is not just all the people we've helped, but then the development of our team, and it's growing, and they're very engaged, and growing that team more is something that's on tap. The software company is something that we're going to look at doing. So I'd say that's an opportunity. We seem to be getting pulled into larger and larger projects. We seem to be getting pulled into owner projects now, where owners, think about a utility company. Utility company has a construction division, and that does hundreds of millions of dollars of construction. So sometimes they wonder, what do we do? Like, what is this? Because all they know how to do is run a utility company. They don't know how to run construction. So we get brought in on things like that as well. So that's exciting. And I will tell you, for me personally, and I know you'll appreciate this, my future involves more bike riding and in different places. And then also, and this you may not know, but I've been studying French for the last 6, 7 years. And so going to France once in a while, and I think a little more travel, a little more biking will be in the future.
I would not be surprised by the biking. In fact, you were one of the first people to introduce me to all the biking that happens in Chicago, which, goes to your culture at the organization, right? It was.
Oh, very much. We have that's one thing that not everybody knows about our firm, but I would say almost everybody is an outdoors person. I mean, I've got volleyball players, paddleboarders, bikers, runners, campers, even a fisherman. So it's an outdoors crowd.
Learning the language of French, I would not have guessed that. Although your love of wine, your love of the finer food, I would have at least lent towards Italian or French. So if you had to ask me which one that would help you in that future endeavor, I would
Well,
have guessed on some of that.
it's kind of funny, but and I've had some thoughts about this. I do love the language, but I mentioned to you that I like large problems,
Yes.
and French is just a large system. Language, learning language is a large
Yes.
system, and so it comes with the territory, I guess.
So we've had a little fun talking about that part, but 5 years before you let your baby go on its own. And we call that in the business, and it's scary to a lot of our construction brethren. So this will be a good one, succession planning. So talk to me about maybe some of the challenges you've experienced personally around having to look and say, did you set 5 years is where I'm going? Did you set a date? How did you do that? And what
Well,
has some of that process been like
yeah.
for you?
So, um, I suppose I'm not going to like lock my door and walk away and not ever, just not ever stay involved. So I think, I mean, I teach at Northwestern a technology course at the master's level. So that keeps me fairly engaged. And then I think I'll still be involved in industry speaking opportunities, some business development opportunities, but the day-to-day bag carrying of consulting is where I need to let others, rise. Um, the firm is getting positioned to have some level of employee ownership. So I'm actually going to try and turn it over in that fashion if I can, because I really feel strongly about the team that I have, and I know they want to stay together and not get gobbled up somehow. So I think that's part of the succession plan. The challenge, you asked about the challenge. I would tell you that, I mean, well, I've been doing this for 32, 3 years. I mean, long time, and then 25 as a firm. So that level of experience is hard to like find, and so we're having to train, if you will, the next layer of management and leadership in the firm. So those are the good challenges we have, and we're looking. Here's the other thing that's, I'd say, good news, Jeff, is that, I mean, when I go out and I canvass the job market looking for some folks that are talented, committed to the industry, they're there. They are absolutely there. And they're excited about the tech, they're excited about construction. And I'm like, come join us. So I would say I'm enthused about that opportunity.
Now, since we've got you on camera and we've got you putting things on record, if you could give yourself advice today to, like you're coming in. So you're joining Burger Consulting right now. And what advice would you give that person joining today that you wish somebody had given you,
Mm.
even though when you started it brand new?
Yeah, so I certainly started rather naively, although I did have my tenure at FMI. I can't tell you how valuable that was. Like that, very fundamental to I had no construction knowledge out of school. I had an accounting degree. So FMI was fundamental in that regard. Um, I would say pay attention to the industry and the people that are in it, because you will learn so much if you care to know and listen. I was in a conversation with, I can't remember if it was a solar and wind contractor or another special. Oh, I know what it was. It was a company that does a particular kind of specialty contracting around energy management. These are energy management contracts that the contractor does for owners. And I had no idea that was a specialty. So, and this was like 2 weeks ago. So I'm still learning today. So if you're intellectually curious, which I am, if you're intellectually curious and you ask good questions, it all comes to you.
That's
And I would tell you too that I think that sometimes people coming in get intimidated by the idea of a consultant because it's like you have to have all the answers. And I would say leave that aside and you worry about the questions. I come in with better questions. I come in with way better questions today than I did back then, but it's all about the questions, because if I can sit down with the right person and ask about 10 or 12 questions, the answer shows up. So the pontificate, the idea of a professorial or pontificating consultant that knows all and shares at a whim, I don't like that idea. That's not who I am. And I don't think that's who we as a firm represent. I think it's people with good questions that understand real problems.
Yeah, you hit on it. I mean, it really is. And I used to think that. I mean, in fact, early on in your career, you usually do think that, like, I have to know it all.
Exactly.
I have to go out and research it all. And then what you eventually figure out is you'll never know it all,
Yep, absolutely.
right?
Well,
But you can continually learn by just asking really good questions.
the funny thing about that though is that, like, and I learned this with FMI. Somebody very wise at FMI told me that the right answer is only 20% of the solution. The other 80 is helping them get it done. And so even if I had the right proper answer, and I felt I did sometimes, only to be surprised, is I want to guide them to the right answer, and then I want to talk through how we get that implemented, like how that it results in something. The industry consulting had a bad reputation in the day of delivering large reports of all the things that needed to be done. And people would look at it and they'd say, yep, that's right. And it would go on a shelf and nothing would happen. We don't do that.
No.
And I feel like that's another distinguishing characteristic is we're much more focused on implementable ideas. So
Yeah, getting to the point where you can actually do something about it. Right?
indeed.
So I'm going to ask you to do two quick things before we wrap this one up. One, you've been there through my ride of the last 10 years, and we've worked together in a bunch of different capacities. And I've learned from you. There's going to be more coming behind me. What advice or what would you say to that next group of IT focused, technology focused people coming into the industry that has given you so much? What would you give back to them right now?
Well, I would definitely say that's a good question. I would definitely say to pay attention to pace. Pace is key because if you listen to the naysayers that we talked about earlier, you will get depressed and you'll think, oh, we're not going anywhere. We can't. I don't even like the word can't. Can't is a bad word, but we can't. So don't listen to them. But if you listen to all the media buzz at conferences and conventions and all of that, you come away thinking, oh my God, I'm going to, tilt against windmills and make all this forward progress. And then you'll get depressed when your ideas don't get fully embraced. So you really have to pick your place and commit to doing something. I have students in my class at Northwestern, and they come to me a lot about different opportunities. And I can't say that there's any one. You can go to work for a software company in development. You can go to a software company in training and consulting and deployment. You can go to work for a contractor and as a BA or some other position. You can go to a consulting firm. I mean, so there's plenty of opportunities depending on what you want to do. But I would say this, come in, stay put, don't jump around, and pay attention, and you'll get what you need. It comes to you. It absolutely comes to you if you just stay put.
That's a good one. Lastly, 25 years and a few more, hopefully a lot longer for Burger Consulting, but not so much for Christian. What do you want to say to construction, to the industry that has given you so much? What are the things that you want to say to them on your not way completely out the door, but maybe on a few longer bike rides with a few less looking over your shoulder?
Yeah, right. That's a good question. So I would definitely say that the influence of technology on the business is tremendous and cannot be overestimated. Your investment in technology should not be viewed as an expense, but as an investment. Embrace change and develop people in your organization that can and will adopt. Don't feel the need to get everybody on board all at once. You need what George Bush used to call the coalition of the willing, right? So all I ever focus on is coalition of the willing, because if I have that, I can make a lot of progress. So continue to pay attention, invest, and embrace change, and you'll get where you need to get. Jeff, can't thank you enough for the coming here and sharing an hour with me on dissecting the industry, where we're at and where we're headed. I think you and I both agree there's a lot of opportunity, cool opportunity out there. Also, the industry faces some kind of significant challenges on their road to a better place. So thank you so much for doing that.
I'm excited to be here. It was a fantastic opportunity. I think we could have gone on for a long time.
Indeed.
And I hope those of you listening could have gone on with us. If you want to get involved or you need help for your contracting company, then please contact Berger Consulting Group to learn more about the services that they're offering today and into the future.
Indeed. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Christian, for having me.